Do you remember that first magical moment when Christmas filled the air with wonder, the scent of fresh pine, a chorus of Bing Crosby, and the soft glow of colored lights reflecting off tinsel? In the 1950s, Christmas was more than a date on the calendar. It was a feeling that seemed to wrap the whole world in warmth. Every December, the crisp air was alive with anticipation as children pressed their noses to frosty windows, counting the days until Santa's arrival. Families gathered around the radio, sipping hot cocoa while the fire crackled, each song and commercial break adding to the thrill. The simple beauty of a carefully wrapped present, the crinkle of bright paper, and laughter filling the room made those holidays unforgettable. Do you still remember the texture of handmade ornaments, or the thick ribbon candies that only appeared once a year? Christmas in the 50s had a gentle magic, a slower, sweeter way of coming together. As we revisit these cherished memories, let's rediscover what made those Christmases truly special and why those moments still feel so close to our hearts today. It's hard to imagine now, but the Christmases of the 1950s didn't just spring fully formed from a Norman Rockwell painting. In fact, they blossomed out of a time of great change. After years of scarcity and uncertainty brought on by World War II, the country finally found itself breathing easier. The war was over, loved ones had come home, and a spirit of hope crackled like chestnuts on an open fire. For many Americans, the 1950s were a decade of firsts: their first new house in the suburbs, their first shiny family car, maybe even their first television glowing in the living room. But if there was one thing everyone looked forward to, it was Christmas, approached with a renewed zest for tradition and a few twists that made the holidays truly unique. Families across the country were buoyed by a sense of togetherness. The baby boom was in full swing, and with it there were more children than ever to delight in the joys of Christmas morning. Do you remember how energetic and full the house felt? Brothers and sisters, cousins, even whole neighborhoods of kids would band together. The laughter spilled out beyond the four walls, echoing through snowy streets dotted with houses that all seemed to twinkle in unison. The sense of community was as real as the fresh snow you'd crunch underfoot, caroling from door to door. But what about before all this cheer? During the early 1940s, Christmas had been a more subdued affair. Wartime rationing meant many families went without luxuries. Chocolates were rare, toy factories had been repurposed for the war effort, and even Christmas lights were dimmed or snuffed out to conserve energy. So when peace returned, people seized every opportunity to make the holidays bigger, brighter, and bolder than ever before. The earliest Christmases of the 50s felt like a collective sigh of relief, a time to reclaim joy. One surprising twist? The Christmas tree itself underwent a revolution. Before the 1950s, most families made do with small, modest trees, sometimes borrowed from the backyard or the local woods. In the post-war boom, it seemed everyone wanted a taller, grander evergreen, right in their front window. Have you ever noticed how tree toppers from the 50s were suddenly more elaborate? The market for decorations exploded with new tinsel, aluminum, icicles and glass bulb ornaments filling shelves. Households prided themselves on having the most dazzling display in town, and neighborhoods could even become a friendly competition. Who had the brightest house on the block? Perhaps you remember this. In December, city centers and main streets transformed almost overnight. Storefronts went from workaday to whimsical, with animated toy displays, glowing window scenes, and of course, the scent of roasting chestnuts or peppermint in the air. Department stores became a holiday pilgrimage, drawing shoppers with elaborate decorations and Santa's enchanted grottos. Large retailers like Macy's and Sears outdid themselves, year after year, with window displays so detailed and magical that people would queue up just to walk past. Did your family make a trip downtown just to see the sidewalk windows, bundled up and sipping hot chocolate as you peered inside? The story of Christmas in the 1950s was also written by new conveniences. The post-war economic boom meant more disposable income and a wider variety of gifts. The first mass-produced plastic toys appeared on shelves. Think of those shiny tops, rock'em sock'em robots, and the simple joy of a slinky slinking down the stairs. Prior to the 50s, Christmas gifts were often modest and practical, maybe a new pair of mittens or a handmade doll. But now, with factories humming and new inventions arriving every year, wish lists began to stretch a little longer. Did you ever agonize over which toys would make it from the Sears Wish Book onto your very own letter to Santa? It's a fact that the Sears Wish Book, first published in 1933, really came into its own during the 50s. Children would spend hours leafing through its colorful pages, circling their favorite games, dolls, and trains. For many families, the arrival of that catalogue in the mailbox became as important as the first snowfall, a ritual marking the start of the season. When did your family's wish book arrive? Was there a special spot reserved for it on the coffee table, or did it get passed around, lovingly worn at the corners by the time Christmas arrived? The 1950s also saw a shift in how people celebrated together as suburban neighborhoods blossomed. Before this, Christmas gatherings were often centered around multi-generational homes in tight-knit urban communities, but suddenly families were spreading out. That gave rise to a new custom, the Christmas party. Whether it was in the office, at church, or in a neighbor's den, holiday gatherings became a fixture. Did you ever help your parents warm? Punch on the stove or string popcorn garlands before the big Christmas Eve party? The post-war years emphasized not just family, but friendship and community, adding new flavors to the old traditions. Another little-known fact, the 1950s birthed the custom of the Christmas card explosion. With an affordable postal service and a growing sense of national optimism, families sent and received more holiday greetings than ever before. It wasn't unusual for mantelpieces to be crowded with dozens of cards, each bearing a handwritten note and a wintry scene, perhaps even a family photo, a practice that would grow in popularity as personal cameras became more common. Did you keep cherished cards from year to year, or were they displayed in a place of honor throughout the season? Amid this swirl of excitement, a new icon emerged. Santa Claus himself seemed to be everywhere at once, on television, in parades, even calling children by name at those crowded department stores. Santa's appearance evolved too, solidifying in the American imagination as plump, jolly, and dressed head to toe in Coca-Cola's Merry Red. That's right. The Coca-Cola Company played a major role in standardizing the modern image of Santa, thanks to decades of illustrated advertisements, but it was in the cheerful consumer culture of the 50s that his look became the universal standard. Did you ever suspect as a child that Santa's face followed you not just in your dreams, but on every billboard and cereal box? It's worth noting, however, that even as Christmas grew more commercial, the 1950s holidays were still rich with simple pleasures. Carolers stepped out on snowy streets, voices raised in harmony, churches overflowed with parishioners gathered for midnight services. Families cooked together, reviving recipes carefully passed down through the years, fruitcakes heavy with candied fruit, hand-rolled cookies, steaming mugs of hot cider. Has the taste or smell of a favorite dish ever brought you right back to a 50s kitchen, apron tied, laughter echoing? Looking back, the 1950s were an era of possibility. Christmas felt both timeless and entirely new. The holidays became a stage where new American dreams played out, shaped by advertising, fueled by invention, but always anchored in traditions that resonated through generations. As each December arrived, there was a palpable feeling that something truly special was underway. But even with all those sweeping changes, the heart of Christmas in the 1950s was still the sharing of hope and togetherness. That tension between innovation and nostalgia, between old and new, set the tone for the decades that would follow. Do you recall the anticipation as Christmas drew near, not just for gifts beneath the tree, but for the gathering of family and friends, the music, the lights, and that heady sense that all was right with the world? The origins and spirit of the 1950s set the stage, but what about the tools and treasures that made these holidays so dazzling? The next chapter in our journey uncovers the technological innovations, big and small, that lit up the Christmases of that golden decade and left their mark on all the holidays to come. As we look back on Christmas memories from the 1950s, it's striking just how deeply those moments still echo in our minds and hearts. We've traveled through the beginnings of the post-war holiday spirit, relived the excitement of bustling downtown store windows, and remembered the pure joy found in the glow of a brightly lit tree or the first pages of the beloved Sears Wish Book. From the scent of homemade cookies to the laughter of lively family gatherings, every detail wove its own magic, creating a season brimming with hope and togetherness. Whether you recall helping string popcorn garlands, slipping on your warmest mittens for an evening of caroling, or simply listening to Bing Crosby on the radio as snowfall dusted the neighborhood, these treasured traditions stitched our families and communities closer together. At the heart of every 1950s Christmas was an irresistible combination of optimism and simplicity. New technologies and consumer wonders appeared, but it was the small shared rituals, writing Christmas cards by hand, lighting candles at church, savoring the anticipation of Christmas morning, that gave the holidays their warmth. Back then there was a sense that the world would slow down, if only for a few precious days, so we could gather near the fire and bask in each other's company. Though presents were special, it was the presence of loved ones that meant the most. Advertisements might have tried to sell the dream of a perfect Christmas, but deep down what mattered most was the laughter in the kitchen, the familiar tunes filling each room, and the gentle hush that fell across the neighborhood on Christmas Eve. Reflecting on those years, it's clear why they loom so large in our memories. The 1950s marked a rare moment when joy was both simple and abundant, seasoned with gratitude that came after years of hardship and sacrifice. The material gifts were exciting, but it was the gifts of time, attention, and belonging that truly lasted. Perhaps that's what makes these Christmas memories so enduring. They remind us of a time when there were fewer distractions, and the best part of the holiday was having everyone together under one roof. How often do we pause these days to let the soft ring of a bell or the first whiff of pine carry us right back to those cherished Decembers long ago? Tell us, what makes Christmas in the 1950s stand out in your memory? Was it the way your parents made the house festive, a special dish only served once a year, or a simple tradition you still carry on today? Please share your favorite stories in the comments below. Your memories help keep this golden era alive for all of us. If this look back warmed your heart, leave a like and subscribe for more journeys into the past, and consider sharing this video with friends who might enjoy reminiscing too. There's so much more to explore together in future episodes. In the end, the true wonder of Christmas from the 1950s isn't tied up in ribbons or hung on a tree. It lives on in the laughter, kindness, and hope we continue to share. Let's honor those memories by keeping that spirit alive, reaching out to others, and cherishing the moments we have. After all, as the carols remind us, it's not just the season that's bright, it's the memories we carry glowing softly within us, now and always.